Hello. My name is Carl DeLinden, and I am a wizard from another dimension. And this is a video unlike I've ever made before. As I sit here on the eve of East versus West 12, the rematch between Devon Larratt and Leavon. I'm sitting in the very spot you've seen Devon Larratt make videos before. Same window view right here in Green Park, Pendik in Istanbul. And I thought there was no more appropriate place or time for me to tell my story of why I'm here. My earliest memories, I remember watching Hulk Hogan, Mr. Perfect, Bret Hart, Sensational Sherry, Miss Elizabeth. I'm a lifelong pro wrestling fan. And I was deeply into professional wrestling through my life. I pursued becoming a wrestler for many, many years. From about 15 to 17, I was darn set on becoming a wrestler. Now, I had a few injuries. I had some brachial neuropathy, some torn muscles. And I decided at some point to take a path in my crossroads toward music and entertainment creation. Because as I watched people like Hogan and Perfect go through their trials and travails through life, I've also been a lifelong musician. I've been in bands, metal bands, hardcore bands. I've even done some rap groups through my entire life. And I noticed while people like Hogan and Mr. Perfect were breaking down, that Iron Maiden at the age of 50, 60, were still performing, writing, producing material at their peak. I think that Dance of Death in 2004, when they were well-aged, is one of their best albums. And so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna pursue music. I'm gonna keep my hands safe. I'm gonna keep my neck and my arms mobile so that I can continue to write, create, and perform, edit, and craft music and video entertainment. Now, along the way, whilst transitioning into a behind-the-scenes role, I found myself working for wrestling companies from about 2011 to about 2020. Even when I was already a streamer, I was still working in the wrestling field behind the scenes. I did, After Effects video packages, entrance music, of course, lots of entrance music, and voiceover, like, up next, Smash McMaster versus Blaster Massive, live, right here, tonight. Those kinds of voiceovers. And during that time, I have to say, I became disenchanted from my wrestling fandom, and maybe it's me, maybe it was the style of pro wrestling that grew apart from me. It just wasn't what I remembered when I was young. It just didn't draw me in anymore. I dare say the peak of my fandom and kind of the end of my fandom was Rob Van Dam in WWE CW. Alas, come 2015, I had found myself all but disinterested in pro wrestling. The characters weren't as compelling. The interviews, the promos, their words, their verbiage just it didn't captivate me. The rivalries and the trash talk wasn't like it used to be. It felt more scripted, contrived, corporate. And I remember one day, I went into my brother's room. I heard him listening to he was watching something on his TV. Men were screaming, "Ugh! Ugh!" And I thought, oh, this is either some really intense MMA or something else. As I turned the corner and I saw the screen, I realized he was watching arm wrestling. Now, I had seen arm wrestling before, but I had never actually watched a competitive arm wrestling match. I looked at the screen and I saw Devon Larratt versus Matt Mask. And I was immediately captivated by the trash talk, the rivalry. I perceived Matt Mask and Devon to be arch nemesis. Not only was Devon so entertaining, so funny, but effective. And Matt Mask was so immersed in the competition and played into the entertaining trash talk in his aspect as well. I'm sure this was genuine in the moment. I'm not trying to say that this was contrived. I believe in that moment both were truly highly competitive. And it's wild now to know that Matt Mask and Devon are so closely intertwined and train regularly. I never would have expected that on my first impression. Again, this is the first arm wrestling match I had ever seen. And so I asked my brother, what is this? Why are you watching arm wrestling? How did you get into this? And he said, you know what? I watched it because I thought it would be cringe. I didn't think there was anything to it. I thought it would just be a very basic event. Now, my brother, I gain a lot of my fandom from him. A lot of things that I'm into, I've discovered through my brother. And he watches all kinds of wild stuff. Slaps, slap fighting, car-jitsu, karate tournaments, the real life blood sport events that they're putting on now, the medieval combat in full armor. So when I saw him watching arm wrestling, I thought, okay, so he's dabbling in something else now. And he said, you know what, I admit, at first I watched it because I didn't think there'd be anything to it. But there's this guy, Devon Larratt. And he's so entertaining. His trash talk and his effectiveness in word and power, pressure, and technique were really impressing my brother, really entertaining. And so I knew if he likes it, it must be something here. So I sat and I watched Devon versus Matt Mask, and I have to admit, it reminded me of the feelings I had watching pro wrestling when I loved it. It was a demonstration of power, of, again, technique, size, scary dudes. I don't mean to take away from modern wrestling, but when I was a fan, everyone was a monster. And I recognized that in arm wrestling, pretty much everyone was a monster. Even in the lighter weight classes, they were still monstrous in their presentation, in the perception, in their effort, and their dedication, their discipline to arm wrestling. I recognized it immediately. And so my brother and I, we sat and we watched that day. He showed me match after match, and I instantly became an arm wrestling fan, a Devon Larratt fan. We watched Devon versus Monster Michael Todd, the King's Move saga. I watched it the first day of fandom. I watched and we watched both of them. We watched matches with Hermes and more Matt Mask matches. We watched videos of Leavon and Schoolboy. We watched basically every video that was available from the I think it was the WAF, the company that had Justin Roberts as an announcer, and really great production. I was really enticed by the production level. It felt like I was watching wrestling when it was good. That's really what I was thinking that day. I was thinking, this is wrestling when it was good, but even better because it's real. Real effort, real discipline, real technique, and the trash talk, therefore, means so much more. You can see people getting heated. You can see the effort in their eyes, both increasing and fading. You can see the importance of confidence and the mental warfare. From there, I kept up with the sport, and I have ever since. And since then, I've watched all the sagas and big events. I've been watching the East versus West, King of the Table, Larry Wheels' videos, the Juju Mafu videos, the Arm Wrestling Whisperer videos. Now, if you're watching this, you probably know I'm a Twitch streamer, and you probably remember the time that I played you the Devon Larratt versus Arm Wrestling Whisperer video. So entertaining, so funny. The innuendo, the pure comedy gold that Devon brought in playing off of the Arm Wrestling Whisperer's style of talking. And when I heard that Devon was going to face Leavon, that was a big deal for me and my brother. We watched with great anticipation. We tuned in and we were stunned at the result. You know, we were pulling for Devon, but we kind of knew that it was going to be very difficult for him. And when we saw the arm injury and Devon defeated as handily, pun intended, as he was, it was almost a devastating moment for our fandom. And then I heard that there would be a rematch, and I was thinking about visiting Istanbul anyway. And so the timing just seemed to make sense. So here we are in my Mikey Whipwreck ECW shirt. Shout out to Mikey Whipwreck, by the way. Sea Haven forever. Here we are, Istanbul, Green Park, Pendik. Hours from now, we find out, did we really see Devon versus Leavon the first time? Or did we see an injury in the aftermath? Will Leavon be stronger than ever? Now, I've been watching every Voice of Arm Wrestling upload. I know the stories, I know the predictions, I know the odds. I know the questions. Will Leavon be stronger than ever? Will Devon be 3% stronger and Leavon 3% less strong? I know the hype. I know the sell. And I bought it. I've seen the odds. I've seen the polls. I see Devon as a favorite in every poll I've seen. And that speaks to the fandom. And while being here, I've spoken with so many fans that, like me, are here because of Devon Larratt. They had the same path as me. They found the WAF, or is it WAL? You know the ones. They found those videos and they were immediately taken in by Devon's personality. And then they started following the sport from there for years and years. So I want to thank Devon for making this sport what it's becoming and giving me and so many people something extra to look forward to that, in my case, I didn't have anymore once I lost my fandom in pro wrestling. Now we still have MMA and boxing. I'm a lifelong fan of those as well. But to add my arm wrestling fandom and keeping up with the results, keeping up with the sport to my book of hobbies, I am very thankful because the stories, the drama are incredible. And the fact that I'm gonna be here when the grandest chapter, the thickest page, the culmination, the crescendo, the climax of this great story. The biggest match of all time, in my opinion. And I would say the majority of the opinion of fans that I've spoken with, this is it. The biggest match of all time, the most important match of all time, the two greatest of all time, have found their way back to each other. What a story. It is fate. The thread of destiny has woven its way through the fabric of space and time, through the fabric of Devon's green hoodie. And I believe that tomorrow night, April 20th, 2024, Earth Realmian time, my arm wrestling hero, the one who got me here, who got me into all this, Devon Larratt, will punctuate his legacy thus far with the most impressive, most important victory, accomplishment, and achievement in the history of putting hands together and finding out who can pin the other. Devon's story is incredible. His grandmother, an arm wrestling champion. The DNA. You know, I've read and seen the history of his brothers. I know the legacy that he's imprinting on his family. I know his wife already accomplished, and now his children are going to become the next big thing. And here we are at this corner, at this milestone. I'm honored to be a part of this story. And I'm honored that this story is a part of mine. I'm honored to be amongst the legends here. I've run into Leavon, Michael Todd, and many more while being here. And I'm looking forward to feeling the aura of the event as it progresses through its conclusion. This has been an incredible trip. It's been a great day. And it's going to be an amazing night tomorrow night. Thank you.